This video is about the types of questions that you might come across while you're taking the Accuplacer. What I'm going to be doing in a moment is actually going through a few examples of those. First, before we go through some examples, let's start off with talking about multiple choice testing. For the most part, that's what the Accuplacer is going to be. It's all multiple choice. You're not actually writing any answers. But here's some tips about taking multiple choice tests. So, best strategies. If none of the answers feel right, use the process of elimination. So for example, let's say it's like, oh, I'm not sure which one is the right answer, but try to figure out which one you think is the wrong answer first. So in the Accuplacer, you're going to be finding questions about paragraphs, or you might be finding questions that are two sentences that are underlined, and you have to figure out the relationship between those two. Those are usually the type of questions that are going to appear on the Accuplacer. The following examples of questions that I'm going to be reading to you in a moment are actually taken from past Accuplacer tests. I'll now read the paragraph about Thomas de Quincey. In the words of Thomas de Quincey, it is notorious that the memory strengthens as you lay burdens upon it. If, like most people, you have trouble recalling the names of those you have just met, try this. The next time you are introduced, plan to remember the names. Say to yourself, I'll listen carefully. I'll repeat each person's name to be sure I've got it, and I will remember. You'll discover how effective this technique is, and probably recall those names for the rest of your life. So the question below talks about the quotation from Thomas de Quincey. So let's take a look. The quotation from de Quincey indicates that memory, A, always operates at peak efficiency, B, breaks down under great strain, C, improves if it is used often, or D, becomes unreliable if it tires. So let's take a look. A, always operates at peak efficiency. Does your memory always operate at peak efficiency? Probably not. I'm going to guess that you forget things sometimes. What about B? Breaks down under great strain. Well, it doesn't really talk about breaking down in that quote, does it? It is notorious that the memory strengthens as you lay burdens upon it. Strengthening has nothing to do with breaking down. What about C? Improves if it is used often. Let's think about that for a moment. It is notorious that the memory strengthens as you lay burdens upon it. So if I'm laying a burden upon something, I'm putting weight on something. Maybe it's like, oh, so I'm putting weight on my memory. If I'm putting weight on memory, that must mean I'm using it often. Okay, so improves if it is used often. That's probably the answer, but wait a moment. Let's double check. Let's check D. Becomes unreliable if it tires. Yeah, but that's not what he's saying, right? It is notorious that the memory strengthens as you lay burdens upon it. This means that I keep using it. It's not like it's saying that it's tiring. It's saying the more I use it, the better it gets. So it is C. Yes, so the answer in this particular question was C when it was given on the Reading Accuplacer. Oh, we have the same question. Well, rather, we have the same paragraph again, but a different question. So just to repeat, I'm going to be reading the paragraph again. In the words of Thomas de Quincey, it is notorious that the memory strengthens as you lay burdens upon it. If, like most people, you have trouble recalling the names of those you have just met, try this. The next time you are introduced, plan to remember the names. Say to yourself, I'll listen carefully. I'll repeat each person's name to be sure I have it, and I will remember. You'll discover how effective this technique is, and probably recall those names for the rest of your life. Let's take a look at the question below. Remember, it's going to be different than the one that came before. The passage suggests that people remember names best when they, what? Meet new people, are intelligent, decide to do so, are interested in people. Well, let's take a look. Meet new people. Do you remember names best when you meet someone for the first time? I don't think you. You probably have been at a party before or an event. You talk to someone, they say their name, and you forget right away. It's probably not going to be A. B, are intelligent. No, that's probably not true either. Intelligence has nothing to do with remembering names usually. C, decide to do so. Doesn't something like that happen in the paragraph? Remember where it said, say to yourself, I'll listen carefully. I'll repeat each person's name to be sure I have it, and I will remember. Doesn't that sound like the person's deciding? That's probably the answer, but let's make sure. Who knows? Maybe D is it. D, are interested in people. Probably not. You've probably been interested in getting to know someone, but you probably have forgotten their name on occasion, especially when you meet them for the first time. So in this case, it's probably going to be C. Yes, so the answer was C in this particular question on the Accuplacer. The next question concerns sentences that have been underlined, and you have to decide the relationship between those two sentences. So here's the first sentence. While most people think of dogs as pets, some dogs are bred and trained specifically for certain types of work. Let's take a look at the second one. The bloodhound's acute sense of smell and willing personality make it ideal for tracking lost objects or people. So what's the relationship between these two sentences? There must be one. We have dogs in both of them. But we have a very specific type of dog in the second one. Which one is it? The bloodhound, right? So we're talking about dogs as pets, but some dogs are bred and trained specifically for types of work. Well, what type of work was the bloodhound trained for? Oh, look at that. It's ideal for tracking lost objects or people. So let's take a look now at the questions. And usually it's always a good idea, before you even look at those questions, to think for yourself, what is the relationship between those two sentences? And then after you figure it out, then take a look at the questions. What does the second sentence do? Does it make a contrast? Does it restate an idea found in the first sentence? It states an effect? Or does it give an example? Well, make a contrast. Remember a little while ago we talked about the word contrast? That's about differences. These two sentences aren't really different, are they? They're both about dogs. And the second sentence doesn't really contradict anything that came before. What about B? It restates an idea found in the first. The first sentence is just about dogs being bred and trained specifically for tasks. The second sentence doesn't really restate anything that's found. It actually adds more to it, doesn't it? It gives almost like an example. So what about C? States an effect. There's not really cause and effect happening here. But what about D? Yeah, so it gives an example. So we have dogs are bred and trained specifically for types of work. Oh, we have the bloodhound. That's an example of that specific idea. So just to recap a bit, especially if you've been watching all of these videos, be on time to the test, take your time with the test, and read carefully. Also, for further study, you might want to consider going on to the College Board website and actually using the Accuplacer app. This app includes the reading Accuplacer practices, and it also includes some of the algebra Accuplacer study material as well. So you might want to consider using that app. And right now I'm actually going to show you how to get onto the website. So when you go on to the College Board website, you'll see right there on the right-hand side, if they don't change the website when you actually see this, you'll see a link for Accuplacer. After you click that, you'll see one of the links. It will say Accuplacer Study App. Then it will get you to a page where it says returning users. But what you'll want to do is you will want to get the app. So you'll want to sign up for it. It's not a download. This is just in the browser. And the really nice thing about this website is that once you sign up for it, you can take the Accuplacer here for practice. And you can take, again, you can take the Algebra 1. The nice thing is that when you take the reading comprehension Accuplacer practice here, it will actually show you your history of how well you've done in the past tests. It will give you the answers to the questions. It will show you what you've gotten wrong. Really, the idea is it just prepares you for what you're going to be facing while you're actually taking the test.
This project has been made possible by a grant from Pathways and the support of the Lash Center for Teaching and Learning at Bristol Community College.